Manipulators don't break strong people. They break untrained minds. Train yours, and no one will ever control you again. In a world filled with noise, opinions, and hidden agendas, one truth remains unshaken: your mind is your kingdom, and no one has the right to rule it except you. The Stoics taught that true strength is not found in confrontation, but in mastery of self. When you master yourself, manipulators lose all power over you. Today we explore 10 Stoic tricks that make you untouchable. 1. Control the inside. Ignore the outside. Manipulators thrive when you react. The Stoic path reminds us, you control your thoughts. Others control only their attempts. Stay grounded. Respond with intention, not emotion. 2. Master the pause before you reply. Pause. Silence disarms manipulation. The one who pauses becomes the one who leads. 3. Don't take the bait. Insults, guilt, pressure, they're all bait. A Stoic sees the trap and walks past it calmly, untouched. You owe no reaction to anything that threatens your peace. 4. Set boundaries like stone walls. Kindness does not require access. You can be calm and firm at the same time. Boundaries protect your energy from being drained by others. 5. Keep your emotions private. The Stoics said, reveal your character, not your turmoil. When manipulators can't read your emotions, they lose their advantage. 6. Observe. Don't absorb. Watch people's behavior as if you're studying a play. Do not absorb their negativity, drama, or pressure. Stay the observer, never the sponge. 7. Use logic over feelings. Manipulation targets emotions. Reason destroys manipulation. Ask, what facts do I actually know? Facts free you from influence. 8. Practice unshakable self-worth. If your value doesn't come from others, others can't take it away. A Stoic stands tall because their worth is built from within, not borrowed. 9. Respond with calm certainty, not anger, not fear, calm certainty. It is the tone of someone who knows who they are and who no manipulator can touch. 10. Walk away with peace. The last Stoic trick is the simplest. Leave when your peace is threatened. Walking away is not weakness. It is the ultimate declaration of power. Your mind is your kingdom, and nothing illustrates Stoic power more clearly than this truth. Manipulators try to enter your mental space, twist your emotions and guide your reactions, but the moment you understand that your thoughts are entirely your own, everything changes. The Stoics taught that while we cannot control the world, we can always control our perception of it. This is the core of inner freedom. When someone tries to provoke, guilt-trip, confuse, or pressure you, remember that their influence ends at the edge of your mind. They may speak, they may act, they may attempt to persuade or deceive, but only you decide whether their words gain power inside you. This understanding is the most important shield you will ever carry. Most people give manipulators strength, not because the manipulators are powerful, but because they allow them to occupy their mental space. Once you start letting someone's behavior dictate your emotions, you hand them the throne of your mind. You begin reacting instead of choosing. The Stoic approach demands something different. It requires you to separate what is yours from what is not. Your judgments, your values, your thoughts, these are yours. Someone else's opinion, anger, or pressure, these belong to them. When you stop confusing the two, their control begins to collapse. Think about how manipulators operate. They rely on emotional reactions. They push buttons they hope you haven't discovered yet. They create confusion to weaken your clarity. They plant doubt to weaken your confidence. They stir guilt to weaken your boundaries. But all of these tactics fail when your mind is anchored. You become like a mountain. The wind may blow, storms may pass, but you remain steady, untouched. This doesn't mean you become emotionless or cold. It means you become selective. You choose what enters your mental world and what stays outside. You don't respond to every provocation. You don't absorb every message. You don't internalize every criticism. The Stoics often reminded themselves that nothing external can harm a disciplined mind. This is where your power comes from. When you maintain this inner guardianship, manipulators lose the ability to sway you. You stop reacting impulsively. You stop giving them the satisfaction of seeing you destabilized. They cannot confuse you if you don't accept confusion. They cannot make you feel guilty if you don't entertain guilt that isn't yours. They cannot trigger you if you refuse to hand them the trigger. You become someone who thinks before responding, who interprets before accepting, who questions before believing. This is true mastery. The moment you declare your mind as your territory, something else happens. You begin valuing your peace more than other people's approval. And when peace becomes your priority, manipulation loses its foundation. You no longer chase validation. You no longer fear discomfort. You no longer respond to emotional pressure. Your inner world becomes a place governed by reason, clarity, and calmness. That is why manipulators prefer reactive people. They are easier to control. But a person who guards their thoughts stands beyond reach. When you live with this understanding, you operate from strength instead of fear. You respond instead of reacting. You choose instead of being pushed. The external world may remain chaotic, but inside, everything is ordered and intentional. This is what makes you untouchable. This is what makes you unbreakable. Your mind is your kingdom. Protect it, honor it, and no manipulator will ever rule it again. The power of the pause is one of the most underestimated strengths a person can develop, especially when dealing with manipulators. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is control. It is the moment where emotions settle, clarity rises, and the truth becomes visible. Manipulators rely heavily on speed. They want you to respond instantly, emotionally, and blindly. They want you off balance, confused, or pressured, so they can guide your reaction in their favor. The pause destroys that plan. The moment you stop and create silence, you shift the power dynamic. You take control of the tempo, and they lose the advantage they were counting on. When someone tries to manipulate you, they expect you to react. They expect you to defend yourself, explain yourself, justify your feelings, or respond impulsively. But the pause prevents you from falling into their trap. In that silent moment, you gather information, you observe what they are trying to do, you analyze their tone, their intentions, and the emotional direction they are pushing you toward. The Stoics understood that our first impulse is rarely our best response. The first impulse is emotional, reactive, and vulnerable. The pause transforms that impulse into wisdom. Pausing doesn't mean you are confused or weak. In fact, it subtly communicates strength. When you don't rush to respond, manipulators begin to question themselves. They wonder what you're thinking. They worry that their words didn't hit the mark. They feel the shift in control instantly. Silence makes them uncomfortable because they cannot read you or control your pace. The unpredictability of your silence becomes your shield. Instead of you bending to their emotional pressure, they begin bending to the tension created by your calm composure. Silence also gives you space to detach emotionally. Manipulators want you emotionally stirred. They want you to feel urgency, guilt, fear, or anxiety so they can shape your behavior. The pause breaks that emotional connection. It acts like a reset button, allowing you to step out of the emotional fog and see the situation clearly. In this clarity, you can ask yourself important questions. What is being asked of me? Does this feel right? Is this person trying to pressure me? Am I reacting or choosing? These questions become impossible to ask if you respond instantly. The pause also reflects self-respect. It shows that your responses are valuable, considered, and aligned with your values, not with someone else's demands. You are not required to give anyone instant access to your emotions or decisions. You owe no one immediate compliance. The Stoic mindset says, act only when your actions align with reason and inner calm. Silence is the space where reason can rise above emotion. Another powerful aspect of silence is that it disrupts manipulation by slowing down the emotional momentum. Manipulators often use rapid questions, emotional stories, or escalating tension to overwhelm you, but when you pause, you stop that momentum entirely. You create a barrier they cannot cross unless you let them. They may repeat their point, intensify their tone, or push harder, but each time you remain calm and silent, they reveal more about their intentions while you lose nothing. Their impatience exposes their agenda. Your silence protects your peace. Over time, this habit trains your mind to be in control, even under pressure. You develop emotional discipline. You become harder to provoke. You no longer fall into traps simply because someone speaks loudly, quickly, or dramatically. You speak with intention, not reaction. Silence is not just the absence of words, it is the presence of power. A calm pause shows that you are not ruled by emotions, not driven by fear, and not controlled by pressure. It shows that your mind belongs to you and you alone. In a world full of noise and manipulation, the ability to pause becomes a rare and formidable strength. Silence is not passive. It is a weapon, a shield, and a declaration of mastery. Manipulators depend on one simple truth. Most people react without thinking. They throw out guilt, fear, pressure, or emotional bait, and the moment you respond the way they expect, they gain control. The Stoic mindset teaches the opposite: awareness, discipline, and restraint. To not take the bait means refusing to get dragged into the emotional traps that others set for you. It means recognizing the hooks hidden behind their words and choosing not to bite. This is one of the most powerful forms of self-protection, because manipulators cannot influence someone who refuses to play their game. Every manipulator has a pattern. Some use pity to make you feel responsible for their emotions. Some use anger to scare you into surrender. Some use sweet words to blind you. Some use fake urgency to block your clarity. All of these are traps. But when you learn to slow down and look beneath the surface, you begin seeing these tactics for what they are: attempts to control your state of mind. Instead of getting tangled in their emotional net, you observe it from a distance. Observation is power. When you see the trap loses its power. A manipulator's greatest frustration is a person who does not react. When someone tries to provoke you and you stay calm, they lose momentum. When someone tries to guilt-trip you and you don't crumble, they lose access. When someone pressures you but you stay firm, they lose control. Not taking the bait is not ignorance, it is mastery. It is the refusal to hand your emotional buttons to someone else. The moment you stop reacting, the dynamic changes completely. Their insults fail to provoke anger, their guilt fails to create shame, their pressure fails to create fear, and once their tactics stop working, they either reveal their true intentions or retreat. This is why Stoics spoke so strongly about emotional independence. When you depend on your own judgment, your own clarity, and your own self-worth, manipulators cannot hook you. They only succeed when their bait matches your wounds, insecurities, or desires. By strengthening your inner world, you remove the hooks they rely on. Not taking the bait also means choosing peace over drama. Manipulators want a reaction. They want you upset, confused, or emotional because that is when you're easiest to influence. But a calm mind sees through manipulation instantly. A calm mind does not chase validation. A calm mind does not fear rejection. A calm mind does not fall for emotional tricks. Calmness is your anchor. It keeps you grounded even when someone tries to pull you into chaos. When you refuse the bait, you create space. That space allows you to think clearly, to evaluate the situation logically, and to decide whether the conversation is worth your time. Many manipulative behaviors collapse under the weight of silence and indifference. If someone tries to provoke an argument and you don't engage, the argument dies. If someone tries to force you into a decision and you refuse to rush, their pressure loses strength. When you no longer respond to emotional traps, manipulators lose their blueprint. This practice does not mean avoiding responsibility or ignoring real issues. It means refusing to respond to dishonesty, emotional tricks, or psychological pressure. It means choosing clarity over chaos. It means not letting anyone push you into reactions that don't align with your values. Over time, this habit becomes a natural part of your character. You stop being triggered by small things. You stop losing your peace to other people's games. You stop falling for emotional manipulation because you've trained yourself to look deeper, think slower, and respond with purpose. You gain a reputation for being calm, collected, and difficult to influence, and that is exactly what makes you untouchable. When you don't take the bait, manipulators eventually realize something powerful. Their tricks don't work on you. They cannot provoke you, shape you, or control you. You move with intention, not impulse. You choose your reactions, not them. And once they understand this, they lose all power over you. Boundaries are one of the strongest forms of self-respect, yet they are also one of the hardest things for people to maintain, especially when facing manipulators. A manipulator's goal is simple. They want access to your time, your energy, your emotions, your decisions, and sometimes even your sense of identity. Boundaries stop that. They act as invisible walls that protect your inner space. The Stoics understood that inner peace is only possible when you control what enters your life and what stays out. Setting boundaries is not cruelty, it is wisdom. It is a declaration that your well-being matters, that your mind is not an open field for anyone to walk through, and that you have the right to decide how you are treated. Manipulators dislike boundaries because boundaries limit their influence. When you say no, when you walk away from disrespect, when you refuse emotional pressure, they lose the grip they once had. Without boundaries, you become easy to drain, easy to guilt trip, easy to confuse, easy to control. But when your boundaries are firm, you create a shield that protects your emotional and mental energy. You stop giving unlimited access to people who come with hidden intentions. You create distance where needed, and that distance becomes your strength. A boundary is not just a rule, it is a message. It communicates that you will not tolerate manipulation, disrespect, or emotional games. It communicates that your time is valuable, Your emotions are valid, and your peace is worth protecting. People who care about you will respect your boundaries. People who want to use you will fight against them. This reaction alone often reveals who truly belongs in your life. Having strong boundaries does not mean you become harsh or cold. It means you remain kind but firm, gentle but clear, calm but unmovable. A Stoic knows that the goal is not to control others, but to control access to oneself. A boundary might be as simple as not replying instantly, not explaining yourself when you don't need to, or refusing to participate in emotional games. It might be choosing distance instead of conflict. It might be walking away instead of arguing. It might be saying, "I will not discuss this right now," and sticking to it. Manipulators try to make you feel guilty for protecting yourself. They may say you're selfish, cold, insensitive, or difficult. This is a common tactic to break your defenses. But guilt is the enemy of boundaries. The moment you let guilt decide for you, your walls crumble. The Stoic mindset says that peace is the highest good, and guilt should never be the price you pay for protecting it. A boundary exists to guard your peace, not to please others. The more consistent your boundaries are, the more powerful they become. If you only set boundaries but never enforce them, manipulators learn that your words are empty. Enforcing boundaries means following through with your decisions even when others push back. It means choosing distance over drama. It means ending conversations that drain you. It means protecting your emotional space even when someone doesn't like it. Over time, strong boundaries transform your life. You become someone who is not easily manipulated, not easily pressured, and not easily swayed by emotional tactics. You become someone who knows their worth. When you respect your own limits, others begin to respect them too. You attract healthier relationships and push away those who relied on your lack of boundaries. The Stoics believed that inner peace requires outer discipline. Boundaries are a form of discipline over your time, your attention, and your access. Once you master this, manipulators have nowhere to operate. They cannot drain you because you don't let them. They cannot confuse you because you stand firm. They cannot control you because you control your space. Boundaries are not a wall that keep people out. They are a gate that lets the right people in. They are not built of anger. They are built of clarity. And once you stand behind them confidently, you become untouchable in a world full of manipulation. Self-worth is the foundation of emotional strength, and it becomes especially powerful when dealing with manipulators. Manipulators thrive on insecurity. They search for cracks, moments where you doubt yourself, moments where you feel unworthy, moments where you look to others for validation. When your sense of worth depends on external approval, you become easy to influence. But when your worth comes from within, no one can take it from you, weaken it, or shape it. This is what the Stoics meant by inner fortitude. True confidence is not loud, it is steady. It is the quiet belief that you are enough, and that no manipulator can diminish your value through words, guilt, pressure, or emotional tricks. Most people fall into manipulation because they crave acceptance. They want to be liked, praised, understood, or validated. Manipulators sense this need like predators sense weakness. They offer praise when they want to control you, and they take it away when they want to punish you. They create emotional highs and lows, making you dependent on their approval. But when your self-worth is rooted in your own judgment, your own values, your own understanding of who you are, this emotional manipulation collapses instantly. You no longer chase anyone's validation, because you already carry the validation within yourself. Self-worth built from within does not break easily. It allows you to stand firm even when someone criticizes you unfairly. It helps you remain calm when someone tries to guilt-trip you. It allows you to walk away from people who try to diminish your value. Without strong self-worth, every comment feels personal, every rejection feels painful, and every disagreement feels like an attack. But with strong self-worth, those same moments become neutral. You evaluate them logically instead of emotionally. You ask yourself, is this criticism true? Instead of assuming it must be. You ask, does this person's opinion define me? Instead of letting it wound you. Manipulators use fear to control people. Fear of being alone, fear of being disliked, fear of being misunderstood. But when your self-worth is strong, you are no longer afraid of losing people who never valued you. You no longer fear walking away from situations that damage your peace. People who have internal confidence are naturally harder to manipulate because their emotional stability does not depend on external circumstances. Self-worth also makes you selective. You stop entertaining people who drain you. You stop giving attention to people who belittle you. You stop tolerating behavior that goes against your values. You realize that you deserve respect, kindness, and honesty, not because someone else says so, but because you believe it yourself. And this belief creates an invisible barrier around you. It filters out manipulation without effort. The Stoics understood that the world is full of opinions, some fair, many not. They taught that you cannot control what others think, but you can control the meaning you attach to their words. A manipulator might call you selfish for setting boundaries. They might call you insensitive for not reacting to their emotional traps. They might accuse you of being distant when you refuse to play their games. But none of these labels matter when you know who you are. Internal self-worth also helps you stay composed. When someone tries to provoke you, you don't explode. When someone tries to guilt you, you don't break. When someone tries to twist your emotions, you don't get confused. You respond from a place of strength, not insecurity. A secure person does not need to defend every accusation or fight every battle. Sometimes they simply walk away because they know their value is not up for debate. Over time, this inner confidence becomes your natural armor. It protects you from emotional manipulation because you no longer depend on external sources for identity or validation. You move through life with clarity. You speak with confidence. You choose relationships with intention. You surround yourself with people who uplift you, not people who try to control you. When your self-worth is rooted within, manipulators lose their leverage completely. They cannot trigger you, shape you, or weaken you because you do not look to them for approval. You already know your value, and once you know your value deeply, no one can make you doubt it again. Walking away with peace is one of the strongest and most liberating actions you can take, especially when dealing with manipulators. Many people stay trapped in harmful interactions because they feel obligated to explain themselves, prove their intentions, defend their character, or win the argument. But the truth is simple. Manipulators do not want resolution. They want control. They want you emotional, engaged, and tangled in their web. The moment you walk away, calmly and without chaos, you break that entire structure. You show that your peace is not up for negotiation. You send a powerful message: your behavior does not determine my state of mind. Walking away does not mean you are weak, scared, or defeated. It means you choose your inner stability over pointless battles. Manipulators thrive on reaction. They need you to argue, justify, or absorb their emotional pressure. They want your attention because attention is fuel. When you walk away, you remove that fuel completely. You show that you don't operate under their emotional rules. You are not controlled by their anger, guilt, or attempts to create urgency. You decide when the interaction ends, and that decision alone shifts the power in your favor. Many people hesitate to walk away because they fear being misunderstood. They worry someone will think they're rude, selfish, or uncaring. Manipulators use this fear strategically. They accuse you of abandoning them, not listening, or running away from problems, all to pull you back into their game. But walking away is not abandonment. It is protection. Protection of your mental health, your emotional clarity, and your personal boundaries. You cannot have peace if you stay in environments where peace is repeatedly disturbed. You cannot grow if you stay in conversations designed to break you down. Walking away also gives you something invaluable: distance. Distance brings clarity. When you are not in the heat of the moment, when you are not absorbing someone's emotional intensity, you begin to see patterns more clearly. You recognize manipulation where you once saw confusion. You see control where you once saw concern. You see emotional games where you once gave the benefit of the doubt. Distance helps you evaluate situations with logic rather than emotion. It reminds you that not every battle deserves your energy. The Stoics believed that true strength is the ability to remain undisturbed by things outside your control. Walking away embodies this principle. You cannot control someone else's behavior, but you can always control your response. You can control when you step back. You can control when you prioritize your peace. You can control when you refuse to engage. This choice is not avoidance, it is wisdom. It is the understanding that peace is not found in arguing until the other person changes. Peace is found in refusing to let someone disturb your inner world. Walking away with peace is not dramatic. It does not require yelling, slamming doors, or making declarations. Often it is quiet, calm, controlled. It is the soft but unshakable decision to protect your spirit. Sometimes it is as simple as not responding to a message. Sometimes it is ending a conversation that has no purpose. Sometimes it is choosing not to meet someone who constantly drains your energy. Sometimes it is leaving a space where you are not respected. The power lies not in how loudly you leave, but in how confidently you choose yourself. Over time, this ability becomes part of your character. You stop forcing connections that hurt. You stop trying to fix people who do not want to change. You stop explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. You stop participating in emotional games that distract you from your goals. You begin to live in a state of quiet strength. And manipulators eventually realize something undeniable. You cannot be controlled by someone you can walk away from. When you walk away with peace, no anger, no drama, no guilt, you become truly untouchable. You show that your mind, your emotions, and your life belong to you, and no manipulator has the power to change that.